Back then, however, we couldn't actually see it fly. But this past week, Lang took us to his California test site. Lang prefers to call it a personal aerial vehicle. The FAA classifies it as an ultralight aircraft with limitations.
This aircraft would like to fly a lot faster than the maximum speed we're allowed to operate at, which is...
With the urgency required, I hope, ladies and gentlemen, you will join me to drive a new Marshall-like plan for nature, people, and planet, led by the private sector to align our collective efforts and resources for the highest possible impact. We need a shift in our economic model that places nature and the world's transition to net zero at the heart of how we operate, prioritizing the pursuit of sustainable, inclusive growth in the decades to come. There is hope that we can transform the situation, but I'm afraid we are literally at the last hour, and there is real urgency for action.
Surgical robot. And we actually ultimately want this robot to do essentially the entire surgery. So in everything from incision, removing the skull, inserting the electrodes, placing the device, and then closing things up and having you ready to leave. So we want to have a fully automated system.
Lang prefers to call it a personal aerial vehicle.
Next year's World Economic Forum at Davos has been pushed back to May in Lucerne, presumably because of COVID, but, and here's where you really need to pay attention, Jackie, this year's Davos is very, very different to all the previous ones. The World Economic Forum, along with the United Nations, along with the International Monetary Fund, and along with any number of prominent globalist organizations and powerful individuals, including Prince Charles, together have jointly promised that the 2021 World Economic Forum will be used to introduce, via a vast network of connected big tech corporations, online activist movements, and compliant local and national governments, something they call the Great Reset. This isn't some Sky After Dark fantasy conspiracy theory, Jackie. It is a global commitment they have made to use the panic and fear generated by the coronavirus as a means to reshape all our economies and laws and move to a new form of capitalism that focuses on net zero emissions. To use all the tools of COVID to tackle climate change. You might think this is a great thing. You might think this is a terrible thing. But what is unforgivable, Ms. Landy, is for you not to think about it at all. If implemented successfully, the Great Reset will undeniably and deliberately have extreme and possibly dire repercussions for every single one of your constituents. Ignorance, Senator, is no excuse. Already, the Great Reset is being widely advertised on posters and in ads across the UK and Europe, and no doubt will be here before too long. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy is just one of their marketing slogans. I'm sure there are plenty of Tasmanians, Jackie, who might beg to differ with that proposition. So let me fill in the blanks for you, Jackie. The plan involves replacing shareholders of big companies with stakeholders who happen to be left-wing bureaucrats and climate change zealots. Replacing mum and dad small businesses and private enterprises with big tech and big business. Mrs. Kafut's share portfolio is out. Greta Thunberg's zero emissions are in. Democracy and free enterprise go out the window. Totalitarian government control slides in through the back door. But remember, it's not only a great reset, it's a great deception. Because in order to get everyday people like you and me, Jackie, to surrender many of the rights and freedoms we currently take for granted, the repeatedly stated aim of these organizations is to deliberately use COVID as an excuse, to use all the political and authoritarian tools, as Prince Charles puts it, that are currently being used around the world to eradicate the virus, such as lockdowns, exclusion zones, forced closure of businesses, heavy fines, making protesting illegal, and so on, but now to eradicate carbon emissions. Those behind this scheme are adamant that there can be and never will be a return to normal, that life will never again be what it was prior to COVID. That is why they constantly talk about the new normal. But remember, Jackie, this is not me saying this, lurking in the darkest corners of Sky News After Dark. This is them saying it, the people with the power and the means and the obsessional desire to do it. And they keep telling us again and again precisely what they have in store.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. It is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate and rebalance our world. Rebalancing investment, harnessing science and technology, and advancing the transition to net zero emissions, all elements of the Great Reset, are fundamental to building the future we need.
I think one of the solutions, the solution that seems maybe the best one, is to have an AI layer. If you think of like you've got your limbic system, your cortex, and then a digital layer, sort of a third layer above the cortex, that could work well and symbiotically with you. I mean, just as your cortex works symbiotically with your limbic system, your sort of a third digital layer could work symbiotically with the rest.
This is something that's surgically inserted or bred into the species, or what?
The fundamental limitation is input-output. So we already have, we're already a cyborg. It's just that you have a digital version of yourself, or partial version of yourself online in the form of your emails and your social media and all the things that you do. And you have basically superpowers in that with your computer and your phone and the applications that are there. You have more power than the President of the United States had 20 years ago. That you can answer any question, you can video conference with anyone anywhere, you can send a message to millions of people instantly. You can just do incredible things. But the constraint is input output. So we're I/O bound, particularly output bound. I mean, like your output level is so low. It's like particularly on a phone, like your two thumbs are sort of tapping away. This is ridiculously slow. Our input is much better because we have a high bandwidth visual interface to the brain. Like our eyes take in a lot of data. So there's many orders of magnitude difference between input and output. So mostly effectively merging in a symbiotic way with digital intelligence.
Two other aspects of globalization: environmental and digital globalization.
Nanotechnology is really the science of working with things at the molecular levels. There's a vast range of technologies that could surely be advanced in really profound ways if we're able to capture technology and devices at the nanoscale.
The grant had the two aims. One was to explore nanoscale phenomenon. The other was to find a way to close gaps in education within nanotechnology, the field. And so once we hit on the idea of using reality-based or virtual reality technologies in order to visualize scientific data, it also became really tantalizing to think about, well, can't this be like a game? Can't you have multiplayer? And then it just one thing led to another. And so we came up with this classroom environment. That's when Nano 2020 loads. Started taking the inspiration behind the grant literally. They wanted a classroom technology, so we're like, okay, here's a 3D classroom. The principal thing about Nano 2020, I think, is playing around with scale. And the whole point is to learn how to teleport around, basically learn the mechanics of being in VR. And we'll start there. And what we found is that we can bring people in from different parts of the world, realizing that maybe this could be for education.
Okay, I'm in.
The power of data visualization is not just the ability to tell stories, it's the ability for people from very different backgrounds to experience the data. It obliterates the communication barriers. It allows lots of people from lots of backgrounds to understand what they're looking at.
So across campus and across country, we've developed a series of courses, modules. It's all module-based curriculum so that things can be pulled out and customized depending on the faculty and how they want to use it. It's a really diverse platform, and our intent over time is to make this curriculum not only housed here at the University of Arizona and in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, but actually be openly available.
The student involvement is all of it, because the whole point of this program is to band together and to facilitate learning and skill development as rapidly as possible. My favorite part is that the students at the U of A built it entirely. That's it, hands down.
Welcome back to Fast Money. There is a building boom breaking out, but it's not happening in your backyard. It is happening in a fake world called the metaverse. So
virtual real estate is a way for those companies to buy the land, the pixels, the parcels inside those games.
You can generate revenue by selling advertising, is that correct?
You can generate revenue, you can charge rent, you can sell space for advertising, you can build a museum and charge admission. There's really no end to the things you can do.
Decentraland is the first game of its kind, a virtual world where the community gets to vote and decide on how it changes and grows in the future. There is no central entity that controls the fate of this game. And what makes it really unique is that there's over 43,000 equally sized pieces of land that are owned and traded by people like you and I all over the world. Landowners are then free to build anything they want on the land that they own, and it gets way more interesting. And before you ask yourself, why would I pay money to own land in a video game? I think the better question to ask is, why are other people paying money to own land in a video game? Check this out. Every piece of land you see listed here has sold for over $5,000. And this connected set of 3 blocks of land right here just sold for $78,000. And this is all within the last 48 hours. All right, let me paint the picture for you, right? So it's 2 p.m. on a Saturday inside Decentraland. Elon Musk just had a virtual Tesla talk inside this tall building. And now that it's finished, over 5,000 people spill out into the street. And the first thing they see is this billboard right here. That's over 5,000 pairs of eyeballs staring directly at an advertisement. Kicker number 1, this billboard ad is clickable and can take players directly to the ad's website. Kicker number 2, you can own the land that this billboard is sitting on. That's right, somebody owns this very block of land. They built the most simple billboard on it, and now they can make passive income anytime someone buys ad space. It's their land, so they keep 100% of the money. You know what? Let's buy a billboard ad for DeFi Donut right now in the game Decentraland. All right, so I click on the billboard and we go to their website. All we do is paste a link to our ad's image. Then we select the time frame. Let's just say I'll rent the billboard for 1 day. All we have to do now is choose what crypto to pay with. Let's go with ETH. And just like that, whoever owns this stupid virtual land that you probably thought was worthless has just made passive income from owning virtual real estate. And honestly, this is only scratching the surface. Let's show you guys some really, really cool ways that people are monetizing their land. Guess what? The exact same reasons drive demand for virtual land. It's the same humans wandering around in the real world who are also wandering around in the virtual worlds. And I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, forget buying, who in their right mind would rent virtual land, right? Well, hold that thought, because websites like Rentable are literally a leasing agency for virtual real estate. Like, all you really have to do is just browse and choose the property that's within your monthly budget. Make sure the length of the lease is what you need and the location is good. And also there's a security deposit, just like in the real world, where if you're late on paying the rent for the following month, then you lose that deposit. And then soon as you pay for your first month's rent, the land is yours to do whatever you want with, right? Host an event, deploy a game, sell merchandise in a virtual store, take your pick. Okay, this sounds cool and all, but how do I know the video game creators won't keep making new land or somehow make my land less valuable? Well, here's the thing. In Decentraland, the game developers don't have the power the community does, right? In crypto, we call this a decentralized autonomous organization, or a DAO for short. Let me explain what that means. See, Decentraland is unlike any other game we're used to. Any changes in the game can only happen through a community vote. And how about partnering with a real-world pizza franchise? You can literally set up an order booth in the game, have people pay with crypto, and order a pizza to their real-life address, all without leaving the game. Or how about deploying one of the many public apps onto your land, like this first-person shooter right here, and charging people to play? Or how about creating an NFT gallery and taking a percentage of every sale? From paid virtual events to virtual pop-up shops to simply being a digital landlord, there's so many options, and I think more options in the metaverse than there are in the real world.
It starts with equitable investments, particularly in education and reskilling. And it also implies we come up with a new framework to regulate data ownership, intellectual property and competition in the fourth industrial revolution.
One of the biggest mysteries in the technology world is the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto, the computer programmer who invented the digital currency Bitcoin. That's because Satoshi Nakamoto is a pseudonym. It may be the name of one person or the name of a group. But for over 9 years now of Bitcoin's existence, no one has figured out who or what Nakamoto really is. Beyond solving a long-standing mystery, what sort of impact would uncovering Nakamoto's identity actually have? To answer that question, let's start at the beginning. In 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto published a 9-page white paper containing the first ever mention of Bitcoin, calling it a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. At this point, Bitcoin was just an idea on paper. But in 2009, Nakamoto put the concept to test, releasing the cryptocurrency's first software. Nakamoto was active those first few years, writing in forums, sending emails, and working with other developers and coders to improve the program. That all changed in 2011, when Nakamoto essentially vanished. No more forum entries, no more emails. And in all that time, nobody, not even close collaborators, ever met the founder in person. But here's the thing, whoever it is, they didn't walk away empty-handed. Nakamoto is estimated to have 1 million Bitcoins, which, as of today, is worth over $5 billion. So why did Nakamoto just disappear?
Moreover, both corporate and incoming quality have worsened during the last months. So when we build the post-COVID world, when we do the Great Reset, one of the most important places to start will be to ensure that the fruits of the fourth industrial revolutions are really shared by all.
We talked to Chris and Brad, and we said, there's this amazing human being, and all they ever do is think about other people they can give to. Whether it's in New Orleans, whether it's in Montecito, whether it's the people that come here, the people out there, you're always thinking about everyone else. And we wanted to show you that people are thinking about you. So, on behalf of Ripple, we'd like to give you $4 million. Now, usually people come out with the big giant check and do the big giant check thing, but we can actually transfer it into Rwandan francs right now, right here. And all we have to do is push this button and it's in your account. Do you want to push it? You want me to push it?
I would like to push it. I'd like to push it real good.
Bingo.
We love you. This requires public-private cooperation. So, to the participants of this World Knowledge Forum, my message is this. It is very important to embrace the fourth industrial revolution and its technology, as it will determine our future prosperity, like nothing else.
Can you see those? Oh, there's 2 votes.
Let me try.
Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future? Oh, they're over here. That's easier. You want to take one? Go for it. The first one's for you. IMF. Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future? I did not put that up there.
Remember, I'm from the legal department. I'm supposed to be very conservative about these things. I don't want to go into great details about
Maybe I should take what the IMF is going to do. I think we stunned Ross into silence with that one.
XRP Ledger is decentralized because no organization or individual has any legal right or ability to control it. Every participant enforces every single rule, and the system is governed by all of its participants.
Here, in this Shanghai surveillance center, no resident goes unwatched. Hundreds of millions of cameras are installed all over China.
We have algorithms that automatically recognize certain behaviors. If someone isn't wearing a mask, for example, we immediately detect this wrongdoing.
No one can escape the camera's gaze, even when taking out the trash. Technological advancements in China affect Germany too. Chinese corporations have long been amassing troves of user data.
I don't have control over where my data is sent, whether it's to the US, China, or wherever.
Modern technology has its advantages, from cashless payment to internet-equipped cars. We're heading full throttle into a high-tech future, but at what cost?
COVID-19 has caused a disruption, as we all know, in global supply chains. Companies will try and source more products from neighboring or nearby countries to ensure a greater supply chain resilience in case of future disruptions.
Chicago is home to a number of new high-tech companies, including Fast Radius. They print components that are precise and durable enough for use in the mechanical engineering industry. Fast Radius often uses plastic resins, which allow for faster printing. The process looks like something out of a science fiction film. The metal foot dips into the resin solution. The components solidify on the bottom, as if by magic. No molds are needed. Light sources inside the solution ensure that only certain parts harden and take shape. This process makes the product lighter and also uses fewer raw materials. The company's co-founder and CEO is Lou Rassi. Fast Radius is working with logistics company UPS to completely rethink the concept of supply chains.
Additive manufacturing will have a profound impact on how global supply chains work. We call it the fourth modality of logistics, in fact. What we mean is that through human history, we have moved parts in three ways: by ground, by air, and by sea. And now we have a fourth mode of transportation, and that is moving parts by the internet at the speed of light.
Digital production offers a tremendous freedom to potential clients. A global 3D printing network can provide products more efficiently. transport routes are shorter, and there are no huge specialised factories. These days, 3D printers can make just about anything, and robots automatically supervise the assembly lines. These machines can print single pieces or entire series of products, 24 hours a day. But so far, 3D printing...
And indirectly, as you mentioned, we are also seeing a negative impact of COVID-19 on global political and economic relations. COVID-19 has not been good for US-China relations, leading to a worsening of what we call the new Cold War. This will have long-term consequences on global economic cooperation, since companies will very often now emphasize resilience over costs. With China having become in the past the workshop of the world, this reshoring which will happen over the next years will lead to major disruptions, particularly affecting Korea. For Korea, the combination of the short-term and long-term trend means it will be more important than before to invest in relations, to invest in facilities in all parts of the world, including other parts of the emerging Asia, Europe and the Americas. No company or country can rely on production only in one part of the world. We must avoid also that this new Cold War escalates. We have too many shared interests to allow the global system to disintegrate.
Yeah, Tom, I mean, we are cutting through a very busy schedule here in downtown Riyadh, but it is all about some of these new innovations, and the peer-to-peer powered cryptocurrency Ripple is part of that bigger conversation that we're about to have with the CEO who joins us here. Of course, that is Brad Garlinghouse. Thanks for coming on the show, Brad.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
The turnout here is just nothing short of astounding. What kind of conversations have you had? What kind of deals have you been able to sign?
Well, I totally agree. The energy here, the entrepreneurial energy, particularly in a maybe almost a post-COVID world. So we've had amazing engagement here at FII with existing customers, with potential customers. And it's really just been a profound experience for me so far.
So what additional momentum have you been able to build into the Ripple growth story? Have you been able to come to any new agreements? Because a lot of the cross-border payments, the big channels come through this part of the world.
It's really true. I mean, this is a major centerpiece of remittance networks, and certainly the immigrant populations here in the Middle East, and certainly here in the kingdom between India, Pakistan, the Philippines. And so, these have always been populations which pay very high fees for their remittance traffic, and what we're focused on is bringing those down. The Middle East has been one of our fastest growing regions. We've grown network activity for Ripple-enabled payments 5x year on year here in the Middle East. It's our fastest growing region. And I think it really is only just getting started because it is such a center point, as you described.
What stood out to you in the last couple of months in terms of the adoption of some of the cryptocurrencies? We've had a pretty impressive rally in Bitcoin again, but it's kind of trickled through the wider crypto space. What would you take away from that?
Well, I take a macro long-term view. It's very clear that where we've started maybe almost 10 years ago with crypto really being a fringe and edge case, and where it's now become mainstream. The number of people who are holding crypto globally continues to grow very, very quickly. And the believers in how we can use these technologies for real benefit, not for just the speculative dynamics associated with those who may speculate as investors, what have you. But really, as Ripple is using, these technologies can dramatically improve the efficiency of things like cross-border payments. And those today can be very inefficient by speed and cost, and we can make them real-time and very inexpensive.
How does that fit in with some of the goals that have been announced at FII around net zero for Saudi Arabia? It's going to be 2060. There have been concerns about energy usage with some of the cryptocurrencies. Run me through what the thinking is at Ripple.
Well, for Ripple, that is also kind of the heart of how we think about success. One of the things that has helped XRP, the digital asset that's native to our technology stack, is it's extremely energy efficient. while I'm a believer in crypto at large, I'm certainly a believer in Bitcoin, the energy consumption associated with Bitcoin is profoundly bad. It's 120 terawatts. This is equivalent to the total energy production or consumption of the country of Argentina. So, I do think it's something that we have to address and solve and be cognizant of. One of the things that has been very good for Ripple's direction of travel and certainly our momentum going into 2022 has been the fact that XRP is about almost 1 million times more energy efficient than a Bitcoin transaction.
What about regulation?
Revolves around eliminating the I/O constraint. So it'd be some sort of direct cortical interface.
And you called it a neural lace?
Neural lace, yeah.
It's totally not Google Glass, right?
No, I'm talking about something
but
which...
you wear it? Or you...
No, I mean, it would be... I mean, there are a few ways to approach this, but some sort of interface directly with your cortical neurons particularly.
But doesn't that imply surgical insertion?
Not necessarily. You could go through the veins and arteries because that provides a complete roadway to all of your neurons. Your neurons are very heavy users of energy, so they need high blood flow. So you automatically, with your veins and arteries, have a road network to your neurons.
Still some kind of surgery, right?
Yes, but you could insert something, basically, into the jugular and have. It gets macabre, but
it sounds really easy and.
It doesn't involve.
Risk-free.
It doesn't involve like chopping your skull off or anything like that.
That's
good.
Yeah.
And plus, you're not a house cat anymore, right?
Not a house cat. So,
right.
I mean, essentially, if we can figure out how to establish a high bandwidth neural interface
With ourselves.
with your digital self, effectively, then you're no longer a house cat.
All right. On that note.
Just one closing thing.
I mean, I think it's probably that's probably the best outcome.
Are you interested in exploring this possibility that you have just laid?
Somebody's got to do it. I'm not saying that I will, but somebody's got to do it. I mean, somebody should do it. And I mean, if somebody doesn't do it, then I think I should probably do it. But.
And the goal of this is to prevent there being an external AI, particularly one controlled by a small group of people that could be so much more powerful and intelligent than we are that the house cat
it would be godlike in its
situation
capability.
occurs.
Yeah.
Well, this has been really cheerful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Here in this Shanghai surveillance center, no resident goes unwatched. Hundreds of millions of cameras are installed all over China.
We have algorithms that automatically recognize certain behaviors. If someone isn't wearing a mask, for example, we immediately detect this wrongdoing.
No one can escape the camera's gaze, even when taking out the trash. Technological advancements in China affect Germany too. Chinese corporations have long been amassing troves of user data.
I don't have control over where my data is sent, whether it's to the US, China, or wherever.
Modern technology has its advantages, from cashless payment to internet-equipped cars. We're heading full throttle into a high-tech future, but at what cost?
Two of the most critical challenges in logistics are minimizing operating costs and maximizing storage space. Bionic Hive is developing Squid, an automatic warehouse solution that will reduce operating costs by 65% and increase storage space by more than 50%. The solution is implemented directly on existing warehouses, meaning same shelves, same boxes, same infrastructure. Squid's technology consists of a fleet of robots that have three-dimensional maneuvering capabilities and can essentially go anywhere in the warehouse, floor to ceiling, creating a warehouse comprehensive order fulfillment web. A real-time algorithmic engine manages the fleet, allowing for fast, efficient, and continuous workflow. Each robot is equipped with navigation modules, sensors, and degrees of freedom that enable it to contend with inhomogeneous environment. Squid can further expand its abilities by integrating with existing systems. For example, combined with a depalletizer robotic arm, Squid will be able to automatically manage the reception process, including singulation, placing SKU stickers, micro-pallet bonding, and photo measuring the boxes. This results in end-to-end traceability capabilities for each and every box in the warehouse, a crucial feature for the pharmaceutical and food industries.
JetBot 90 AI Plus robot. It's a vacuum cleaner that uses LiDAR and 3D sensors to clean close to furniture and children's toys. The JetBot's internal camera can be used to monitor pets as well. A recent reality has been a Mole Robotics futuristic robot kitchen project. Not as futuristic as the concept, the robotic kitchen is already quite functional. The system is sold together with furniture and utensils as everything is adapted for optimal robotics work based on proven industrial manipulators. The specially designed gripper can not only use spatulas and ladles, but also, for example, crack eggs, use a blender, or turn on the water. The robot takes ingredients from human-prepared containers. But beyond that, the entire cooking process is fully automated. The robot was trained with the help of a camera recording the cooking process and its verbal description. Breaking down the recipe into simple steps such as stir, flip, salt makes it fairly easy to teach the robot new dishes.
Disney has created robot acrobats that perform high-flying stunts, sticking a perfect landing every single time. These stuntronics are autonomous, self-correcting, and remarkably human-like.
Zip along in a flying car is no longer a fantasy. Companies from startups to aerospace heavyweights are competing to develop and make them commercially viable. Designed to elevate us, free us from highways on the ground to skyways in the air. Flying cars could change how we commute, work, and live. The designs vary, but the cars may look more like futuristic helicopters or oversized drones. Some will fly without a pilot, others are designed to be air taxis.
Government, smart cities. What we will see is that everything will be integrated into an ecosystem driven by big data and driven particularly by close cooperation also of governments with business, civil society. And this revolution will come at a breathtaking speed.
check, knowledge. Yo, man and machine, reproduction, the Adam and Eve. When demons hunger for apples to eat, you speak in tongues over Babel when priests deceiving young. When we succumb, watch the cities flood and damage debris. Wrath of the beast, try to run with shackles on feet. You kinda stuck, the time has come, I think you have to agree.